Teach and Learn morning show with your host, DJ Grace. Come to teach and also with willingness and open mind to learn. Thank you.
The rebirth, as your cerebral spinal fluid climbs your 33 vertebrae and meets your 12 cranial nerves, it ignites the pineal gland, which is the resurrection. Only you can save you. Only you can free you. Only you can save you. Only you, no one but you. Only you can free you. Only you can save you. Only you can free you. No one else can be for you, just only you. We are infinite beings, wrapped in skin. The God that you are looking for has always been within. So don't you be deceived by external things. The only way out is in. Within yourself, pilgrim, to the universe tune in. And the answer that you're searching for will be forthcoming. I see so many get caught up in the matrix system and never made it out, they died a victim. Only you can save you. Only you can free you. Only you can free you. No one else can be for you, just only you. Seek of Eru, Aset and Asar. Seek of him that maketh the 7 stars. It's not about your mansion or your big bossy car. It's all about ascending into an avatar. You are so there, yet you're so far. You have lost your way and forgotten who you are. Reclaim your soul in this spiritual war. Cause you are the God that you've been looking for. Only you can save you.
Blessing everybody. Welcome to Teach and Learn with your host, DJ Grace. Please to share and please to invite up of a very, very important clip to share with you today. And the lines will be open for you to call in. So please to share and invite up and let persons know that the Teach and Learn is on. Thank you. Only you can save you. Big up to the artist, Dante. Share.
Free up in the mind and a fight for the right. Power wise, power wise. Free up in the mind and a fight for the right. Organize, centralize. Free up in the mind and a fight for the right. Power wise, power wise. Free up.
Come on, keep sharing power wise, all right? Come on. Hi, Blessing James, Blessing James. Blessings everyone. Blessing James, all is well. Please to share. All right. Today's I'm going to be playing a clip from Real Merkaba. Okay, the lesson is going to be on the mystery of school. You understand, the mystery of school. So you know what? I want everybody to share and invite up and all of that. I'm going to get right into it. Okay. The clip is about 42 minutes, but you know we may have to cut it into halves, all right? Because we're going to be here for 2 hours anyways. Hope to take 2 calls or something. So please to share. All right, it's a very interesting clip. Thank you. Teach and learn. Alright, let me set up this camera thing. Blessings to everybody. Alright, let's invite up.
It did change my life. And how Abu Simbel is like, you know, everything Ramses. And when you go from the south of Kemet up to the north, all along, you know, everywhere you go, I mean, you find traces of Ramses. He really was a big deal in Kemet, and that's what really kind of sparked my interest with the Bible, as far as the Bible definitely lied about Ramses. So, you know, and going there and seeing so many of the, magnificent structures, and going into the pyramids, standing on the pyramids and looking at everything, and then understanding the geometry and math and everything that surrounds the mystery of these structures. You know, we really got to dig into it and understand what is that really speaking to. So let's go to the Temple of Man, you know, the Great Karnak Temple at Luxor. This is one of many temples that have a lot of hidden occult esoteric meanings. And as a lot of people know, they basically hid, you know, the human body, you know, from infancy up to, you know, adulthood inside the temple. When you go into different chambers, you have, skulls in different chambers, skull sizes from, a newborn up to like a 19-year-old, and the different chambers, the covered chambers. You have the newborn skull shape in the temple of Karnak. So, they really designed this temple to show man. And it's really well hidden. If you're a person without, deep esoteric knowledge, occult knowledge, things only taught in the mystery schools, you wouldn't pick up on this stuff. It's not even subtle. The stuff is very well hidden to the point where, when you're walking through it, it's just no way you're going to know what it is. You're just going to look at it and see the pillars and see everything that's there, and it's designed for you to just kind of sort of get lost and, be standing in awe of the pillars and, all the hieroglyphics and what have you. But hidden well within the structure is very many esoteric symbols and, Egyptian hieroglyphics that mark the body. So as you walking up towards the Temple of Karnak and the south wall, you'll see right there on the wall, there are chariots. And you have archers on these chariots. And when you look at the placement of the archers on the chariot, right where the wall is, it symbolizes the bottom of the foot. So you have archers symbolizing the arch of the foot. So when you look at that, upon first inspection, I got to zoom in a little bit, it's tough to see, worn down with age. But when you look at it, it's something that you'll just look at and say, oh well, and you'll keep moving. And as you go through the Great Karnak Temple, you'll find in different rooms, different chambers, things on the wall that lead to, the understanding of the human body. For instance, you go to the west wall and you have 13 horses, fully, harnessed horses. And it's representing the spine. That's where the spine would be if you look at it as far as the body. And you have, the 13 horses representing the 13 vertebrae, in the spine. So it's things like this that you find as you keep going through the temple, and you'll start to begin to understand, if you have esoteric knowledge, what it is. So when you get to, of course, the brain, where there's a lot going on, you see the same type of things happening there. So now when you start to make your way towards the head, you have chamber 1 or room 1, which would be where the pineal gland is. They call it the secret chamber. Now you look over to room 4. Room 4 is where the eye would be. But also what's interesting about room 4, when you start to look along the walls, you see the twisted flag symbol, or the flag symbol, which sort of looks like this. Now, what's interesting about the flag symbol is the flag symbol, one, the Egyptians used to make cloth, clothes out of. But when you look at that symbol, it looks exactly like the olfactory bulb, which is the prefrontal nerve or prefrontal vertebrae that deals with our sense of smell. When you look at it, you see how it splits. Now, when you look at it in relation to the temple, the head, you see it matches up right where room 4 is. Now, the interesting thing about that, when you look right before that, it's right where Wadjet will be on the uraeus. You look in front of it, you see the serpent or Wadjet on the uraeus will be right there. Now, the interesting thing about that is that snakes have the olfactory bulb. They have an olfactory system just like us that deals with smell. And another interesting thing is when you look at the symbol for the flax or the twisted flax, it looks exactly like a snake's tongue, which they use their tongue to smell. So this is one of the more interesting things that we see that they put in there, and they put very detailed, intricate, detailed things in symbols, enough symbols that if you do not understand the body deeply, you would never make that connection. So the simple fact that they put the twisted flag symbol there in the same room, in room 4, where it would be, prefrontal, and prefrontal lobe, the prefrontal brain, is amazing. And that it matches up with Wadjet, and that deals with the serpent. I mean, all of that is unbelievable. And this is like one of the things you have to look for when you start looking at a lot of these temples and understanding that even the most smallest symbol could correspond to something that you have absolutely no idea that exists within the body. Me personally, when I was read in R.A. Slaughter-Lubbock's book, The Temple of Man, when he was talking about this, I heard about it. I already knew about the Karnak Temple, of course, but I did not know they went that deeply into detail as far as, symbolizing veins and vertebrae or what have you, in the body. And, these are obviously important things that we have and that we use. But the simple fact of how they matched it to, connect with the serpent is just amazing. And it just goes to show, how much they thought about the serpent, of course, which we see throughout Kemet. But when you start going through the temple, you start finding a lot of these things. And it's basically exactly, what they're trying to tell you on how it was laid out. When you look at how it would have looked completed, it would have been an amazing temple, beautiful. And, even the ruins is still beautiful. It's nice. When you go in there, it's amazing. But it's not just in this temple in Karnak, but throughout the temples of Egypt, we find a lot of hidden symbolism that they understand in the mystery schools. So now, as I said before, everything they talk about in esoteric circles, the mysteries of the ancient Egyptians deals with consciousness, energy, matter, plain and simple. Everything in the mystery schools, everything they're talking about is going to take you back to consciousness, energy, matter. Why? Because it's consciousness, energy, and matter that brought everything that we see and can't see into existence. Plain and simple. So the temple at Karnak is dealing with the intricate details of the body as well as other temples around ancient Kemet. It might be dealing with a foot, a head, the heart, an arm. You never know. You have to really understand. And if you understand the body, you'll get that. It's a major thing how much they knew. They completely understood every single working part of the body, every organ, every vein, every vessel. The Egyptians, they knew it all. They knew the functions. They knew how it would affect you. It's amazing that they knew this. So you have to understand, one, the body is the key to your salvation. The body. You go to church, they give you the body of Christ. Body of Christ. The body of Christ. You eat the body of Christ. Symbolically saying that the body is the key to salvation. The body of Christ is the key to salvation. And it's exactly what they tell you. But guess what? As I explained before, you are Christ. Christ is you. So it's saying your body is the key to salvation. Why? Because it's your body that you have to use to activate your masculine, feminine, kundalini energy, to activate the third eye so you can expand in consciousness and energy. It's just that simple. It's what they understood. So we see in the Bible all the time, the body is the temple. The body is the temple. And I just showed you the temple is the body in Karnak. So it's telling you the exact same thing so we can understand where they got that from. So now when we look at 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, it says, "Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost which is in you? Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." Plain and simple. 1 Corinthians 3:16 says, "Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you?" Luke 11:52 says, "Woe to you lawyers, for ye have taken away the key of knowledge. Ye entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in ye hindered." Says the key of knowledge basically is going within yourself. Acts 7:48 says, "The Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands." Just giving you the hint right there. Even though you see this stuff, if you do figure it out, it's not in the building, of course, but just giving you the hint and alluding to the actual building itself. We say, churches are temples, the temple of God. Talking about a structure, and it's clearly talking about the body. It's not a coincidence that a temple, this is called a temple, and it's not a coincidence, but it's talking about the same stuff. So now it says here, 1 Kings 6:7-8, "And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone, made ready before it was brought thither, so that there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building." Think about that. So it's giving you a clue right there. How are you building your body? Besides eating right, exercising, and all that, meditation, the silence, you're meditating. You're building the temple, which is talking about building your body. You don't hear no hammers or tools or anything like that when you're building your body. So it's trying to give you the reference that it's talking about building, your body. Verse 8 says, the door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house. And they went up with winding stairs into the middle chamber and out of the middle into the third. Into the third what? Clearly talking about the third eye. So it's giving you the clue right there, right in 1 Kings, and it's weird, not a coincidence that it's in 1 Kings, as I talk about later. 1 Kings, because the king wears the crown. The crown goes on your head. And the head is what it's talking about, the brain. It's talking about the pineal gland. It's talking about the body where all this stuff is taking place. So you find throughout the body, just like in ancient Kemet, which is giving you all these details about the body being the vehicle that's going to basically help you grow and ascend in higher consciousness and energy. You see what the Bible basically did as far as taking exactly what we see in Kemet and then putting it in the Bible in different metaphorical ways, but really expressing exactly what he's talking about in Kemet, building the body, which is the temple, so that you can get God, you can become God, so you can grow. Talking about growing energy and consciousness. So this is what it's alluding to, this is what it's talking about, and when you begin to read the Bible and understand, as well as understand what's going on in Kemet, you start to make those connections. When a lot of people ask me, what book should I read? I always tell people, you need to understand the Bible first. Because if you have this knowledge about the Bible, you start knowing these verses. I'm telling you, when you go into ancient Kemet, it's going to reveal itself. Everything is going to start breaking down. You're going to start understanding what these verses mean. And it's going to help you make these corresponding connections to things that's going to help you understand a lot of the deeper esoteric meanings about ancient Kemet. So we're talking about building. We're talking about building structures, building. So think of Freemasonry. Now understand, stone masonry is an actual profession. It's an actual skill. So the Freemasons took, stone masonry. They took masonry and made a secret society out of it. Why? Now the obvious answer is because, one, the ancient Egyptians basically used building to hide their secrets. They hid the secrets of the universe, they hid the secrets of the body, the secrets of math and geometry within their structures. So it's only right to take the profession or the skill that you use to build. So, Masons have to really know math. They have to be smart. They have to know geometry. The god of Freemasonry will be the grand architect. The architect is the one who plans it all out and has it done. So the architect would be consciousness itself when you understand what it's metaphorically speaking about. So now the ancient Egyptians really understood this. They understood how important it was to show basically exactly where they came from. So they built these structures. These structures basically reflect what they seen in the universe, what they seen in the heavens or space. So they built these structures to reflect this. They built these structures to reflect celestial bodies because they understood, it came from space. So, as they say, as above, so below. And it's exactly what they did. So they built these structures to reflect celestial bodies, and they built these structures to reflect our bodies because our bodies as well come from space, come from the universe, and they understood this. So this is why they did this. So you have to understand, one, that masonry requires an advanced knowledge in math and geometry, plain and simple. So the Egyptians seemingly hid a lot of math and geometry within their structures. It's just things that when you start to figure out the measurements of these stones and the position and how they did it, and understand how hard it would be to get it to the level of detail that they did, to get it to the point that they did. It's amazing. That's what everybody's so in shock and awe about as far as the ancient Egyptians and how they built, because the math behind it is mind-blowing when you understand about geometry and how it would be so tough to get things to this point. But this is what they did. So in building these structures, they build these structures to reflect, as I said, the celestial bodies. So it's clear they wanted to show math and geometry, because math and geometry in building goes back to the beginning of the physical existence of the universe. Just that simple. It goes back to the beginning. It goes back to how we got here in the first place, how physical existence was created. Now, I talked about this a little in the Metaphysics DVD. You have to understand, one, with consciousness creating energy, creating matter, consciousness moved and created the energy. Energy created the elements necessary to create matter itself. We are matter. Plain and simple. We are made up of atoms. We are made up of these elements. We're made up of these materials. So in building with those steps, you are reflecting the beginning of physical existence itself. So we got to understand, one, we have a big empty space that's infinite. There is nothing there. Nothing but infinite space. So you don't have anything to move in relation to, because there's infinite space. There's nothing material to create any kind of ratio or distance or what have you in that empty space. So as soon as the first physical thing or material thing is created, you have math, you have geometry, because now you can calculate distance. You can basically calculate the distance from that object to a certain point in space. So once you have two objects, more math is created. The more objects you have, the more math exists. So as I said before in the Metaphysics DVD, we didn't create math, we simply discovered that it already existed, long before us. Plain and simple. It's something that's really mind-boggling when you think about it. So this is what they knew. So we are so shocked about the math that the ancient Egyptians understood when they were just doing what they supposed to do. They were just making things as they seen in the heavens, that is done precisely, that is done in relation to math and science. So when you have this energy that's creating these elements and creating material, and you understand that this is where we came from, they were reflecting exactly what they understood in the cosmos here on Earth, because they understood this is how physical existence came to be. There's a lot more deeper meanings into all this, which we'll get into later, of course. Now, I got into a little debate about what I talked about in Saturn Satan Part 1 as far as time being a construct. Now, when you start thinking about, empty space and material and then math coming into existence, a lot of people would think that, okay, well, once you have movement, once movement is created, you have time. And this was the argument. So if you have, point A, point B being created in existence, and you have a moving object, now you have to calculate how long it takes from the object to get from point A to point B. And in doing so, you have time, because you're calculating time. Now, it sounds all well and good, but you have to ask yourself a simple question. Why? Why would you want to know how long it takes to get from point A to point B? For what? So in that thinking, you begin to understand that, well, wait a minute, time is a construct. Time is a construct that is put forward by a person with an agenda. Plain and simple. So for instance, if I was to say, how long it's going to take for you to, finish eating? Common sense you would ask, for what? Why you want to know that? What is the reason why you want to know how long it's going to take for me to finish eating? Do you want to go somewhere? You want to use this fork? What is it? You want me to do something? There has to be a why. There has to be a reason why you want to understand about time. Again, the Matrix. When you break it down, what the Merovingian was talking about is time. If you never have time, you can never take time. He was giving it to you right there. A lot of people would never put that together, but he was going deeply into time itself. And people, who understand about this stuff will get it. But time is a construct. Time is something that is created. Now, if you have a party to go to, somebody tell you, hey, be at the party at this time. Now you're on their time. Now you have to really balance your day around their time. They control you now. whether you realize it or not. You can't do this because you have a time, you have an appointment to keep. So you have to think about that. Time is a construct. Time is not something that is natural. If you are infinite energy, you do not have to deal with time. So when you think about one, if you wanted to know when the sun was going to rise, you wanted to know. So you sat there and you watched the sun. And you have to come up with a time, with a schedule to calculate the sun, the movement of the sun. You will have to come up with time to pinpoint where the sun would be. Now, whether or not you do that, guess what? The sun is still going to rise. Plain and simple. The sun is not on your time. Whatever you say to it, it's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to move. It's going to rise. So you can't, instill time on something that has an infinite movement, that has a movement that's already going to happen. Time is going to be constructed to hinder your movement. So now, if you're on a time schedule, you can't do certain things. You are limited because of time. So you have to understand, yes, and it's something that a lot of people understand, you think about, but time is not something that is naturally created. So when you think about it, it's deep and it messes with your head a little bit, but you got to really think about that. It's a construct. It's something that is created, something that's put out there, something that is given to us for us to really, have to deal with. It's a construct given to us. So, in looking at the universe and looking at a building based off of, material and how everything came together based off, consciousness creating energy and everything like that, time does not fall into all of that. So as I said, if something has infinite movement, time is not going to stop it. The only way you can really stop something that has infinite movement is if you somehow slow it down, if you somehow hinder its movement. And you have to think about it automatically. If you're hindering something that's moving at a speed and you somehow hinder it, then you slow it down. You slow down its speed, therefore creating time. And this is basically what happened. Our vibration has been slowed down. It has been slowed down. So now we are feeling the effects of time. We are feeling effects because normal vibration, the normal way we would vibrate has been slowed down, and it has side effects to it, which would be age. So this is basically what they created. So we would go from being an infinite something to, feeling this effect of time, something slowing down the normal process of an infinite movement, if you can, process that. So again, if you somehow slow down the sun, there will be consequences. Plain and simple. So you got to really think about that. Think about how, and as I talked about before, we're going to get into this down the line because vibration is just a huge thing and there's so much to really dig into before we start getting into that, but we will. But you have to think about it. Again, if you have something that's just going to constantly go and you somehow slow it down, there's going to be consequences, there's going to be repercussions, and it's something that we're dealing with. But we understand, as I said before, infinite energy, it should not have any effect on us, but it does on us in this physical state. So the affected physical, reality, time, what have you, and we are dealing with the side effects of that. So as I talked about before, and as I talked about a little bit later about the negative ions that the pyramids created, and for a reason, but we don't understand the state of the physical body in the beginning. Of course, had to be different from now. So this is stuff we'll get into down the line. But again, time is a construct. It doesn't fit into the whole parameters of creation as far as consciousness, energy, matter. So now, one of the cool things about building, and the goal of building is what? Completion. Plain and simple. So no matter what kind of deadline or schedule you give the builders, the building is not going to get done until it's done. The purpose of the building is the completion of the building and the function of the building. So the building cannot be completed or function correctly until it's done. So no matter what kind of deadline or schedule or time you put on its completion, it's done when it's done. It's just that simple. So stonemasons, they have a space in which to do their building. They have a blank space, which starts out with, sometimes not blank, but most of the time you have a space. And you have to understand math and geometry and ratios and everything like that, distance, scale, and what have you, to know how to use the materials required to get the building done, to get the building completed. And it's just the same thing. It's the same exact thing. You have the empty universe and building. Everything requires math for stuff to get done, which is why math is important, which is why they talk about, sacred geometry and all that. So time really, it has no effect on building something that has to take the time, whatever time is needed to get built. So no matter what, as I said, no matter what schedule you put on it, it's going to take however long it takes. That's one of the beauties in building that they understood, when you understand about, ratios, and you understand that, one, a lot of material things, a lot of things in nature that we see have the same angles, have the same curves and shapes. So it's only right that we find, Fibonacci sequence and pi and golden ratio and everything like that in so many different things in nature, because, it all deals with the calculation of, matter, material, distance, ratio, everything that's in this certain space, everything that's made a certain way. We all come from the same universe. Everything comes from the same type of creation, consciousness, energy, matter. Everything is made of the same thing. So it's only right that we find these same ratios, the same math and everything. It's not as if we are made from different things or made, don't want to say a different way, but sort of differently. It's the same thing. I mean, you got to really think about this. The same exact stuff. You may have a little bit more of this element or less of that element or this element, and that's why you have the kind of composition that you have. That's all it is. But when you trace it back to source, it's the same source. And if you understand that, then you can hide things about, nature, the body, universe, stars, what have you, in buildings, in structures. And that's exactly what the ancient Egyptians did. All they did was basically tell you what it is, what's going on. And it's hidden for a reason, it's there for a reason, which, we'll get in down the line. And all this stuff is done for a reason. And you got to really think about, again, how they had this information, how they knew about this stuff. And of course, the Masons hide this stuff, they hide this information because, one, religion, if you started to understand this math, which is why they never taught it in school, it changes the whole control system, because it just leads to so many different questions. If you found out in school that, Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio, the spiral and everything like that is found in nature and so many different things, why? It just leads to so many different things that's basically going to lead to the whole house of cards coming crashing down. So now, the body is the temple. The body is the temple. You go to church or you go to the temple to basically get to God. They tell you, in order for you to go to heaven, you need to go to the temple, you need to go to church, you need to understand about God, learn about God, build your relationship with God. That's how you're going to get to God. Going to the temple, going to church. And you understand now that the body is the temple. The body is the church. So you have to build your body to get to God. Build your body to get to God. Whereas God will be in the brain. As I read to you from these Bible verses, they're trying to tell you, seeing God face to face. Genesis 30, Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. Seeing God face to face, his life is preserved. So it's telling you God sits in the brain. So it's talking about the pineal gland. It's talking about masculine and feminine kundalini energy to help activate that third eye, to help open that pineal gland, to help grow your consciousness and energy. So again, the Egyptians built the temple representing the body, but they also built the mind, the brain, representing the energy or God, where everything is going to happen at, upon your death. So you have to understand that. You have to understand, one, why is it masculine and feminine energy? You have yin, feminine negative energy, yang, masculine positive energy, Why is that? What's going on with that situation? I talked about this in Saturn, Satan, Part 1. We talked about duality. And of course, the brain also has a dual nature. You have two hemispheres. You have the left side, you have the right side. But you also have what's called the flax cerebri. It says the flax cerebri is a sickle-shaped fold of dark matter that lies in the midline between the two cerebral hemispheres. Its narrow end in front is attached to the internal frontal crest and the cristae galli. Its broad posterior part bends in the middle line with the upper surface of the tentorium cerebelli. So now you can see right here in the video that this is the flax cerebri, and this little part that comes out at the base right here, the back base, would be the tentorium cerebelli. Now, the flax cerebri is sickle-shaped, and that's one of the things you'll see as I read, that they always pertain to a sickle shape. So when you look at it, you can see what it's talking about. So you have the flax cerebri, which is the sickle-shaped curve. You have at the back base the tentorium cerebelli. Right below that, right under it, you have the reptilian brain. So the reptilian brain is kind of sort of cut off by the flax cerebri and the tentorium cerebelli. So now we go back to the garden, and it starts to make sense, start bringing everything together. That the garden is talking about the brain. The story is talking about the brain, if you haven't figured that out yet. So, you have in the garden, you have the garden dealing with the serpent, the reptilian brain, and everything, which would be right under the tentorium cerebelli and the flax cerebri, which is a sickle-shaped curve. Who do we see with the sickle? You see Saturn, the god of Saturn, Kronos, or Satan. Satan is Saturn. The Kronos, the crown, so we're talking about the head, we're talking about the skull. We have the sickle shape, which we know the Grim Reaper, or the god of Saturn, Kronos, always has that sickle. So it's telling you that we're talking about the brain. And you start getting into the whole thing, and you start looking at the story more deeply, more esoterically, and you can see it's talking about the brain. You have the two hemispheres of the brain. You have the right and the left. You have the split. You have the reptilian brain, and then everything starts to fall in place. So the reptilian brain consists of your brainstem, you have the medulla oblongata, you have pons, and you have the cerebellum. Now the cerebellum is referred to as the little brain, the small brain, because it looks like a small brain unto itself. So when you look at the reptilian brain, it's separated from the rest of the brain by this tentorium cerebelli, by the flax cerebri. So when you look at it and you understand that it's separated by the sickle, so when you think about it, Satan came, the serpent reptilian came, or the serpent brain came, and cut us off from the garden, cut us off from the rest of the brain. So we understand that this third eye, the reptilian brain, is cut off from the rest of the brain. So it's attached. So we fell in consciousness, and now we have a dual nature of the brain. You have the upper hemisphere, which would be considered heaven, and you have hell, which would be considered the lower brain, or the reptilian brain. Now you start to understand medically, what it's talking about, how it's pertaining to the brain. So now a dual nature was created. Once this whole cutoff happened, you have two different consciousness that was created. You have the subconscious and the consciousness. And you have to understand that 95% of what we do is controlled by the lower brain. The other 5% will basically be, your reflexes, or, the movements that you make subconsciously. Somebody throw a ball at you and you just see it out the corner of your eye. You duck at the last minute because the subconscious picked up on it at the last second. It wasn't you consciously moving, it's your subconscious that see everything first and then it moved. So that's the other 5%. So you start looking at the story and understand, well, wait a minute. We're talking about Adam and Eve. We're talking about the brain when we're talking about them. So now, when you begin to understand, consciousness, understand one, consciousness shapes reality, plain and simple. So your consciousness is going to decide what your reality is going to be. I always talk about how it is our consciousness that is driving reality. It's our consciousness that's shaping the direction that people go in, plain and simple. So if you think in the beginning, having one consciousness, one purpose, one direction you're supposed to be going. And that's what it is. You have this purpose, you have this direction that you're going straight, you're going true. Then something comes and changes that. Something comes and changes your purpose, changes your direction. That would be considered evil. So everything that was going on with the ancient Egyptians was based off of truth, ma'at, truth and justice. Everything. Because when you have truth, truth is truth. Anything that hinders truth is false. If you take something that's true and change it, you're fabricating truth. But no matter what, the facts still will remain. The truth will be the truth. If you change it, that is evil. Plain and simple. So, when you have Satan, you have God. Remember, they was together at one point. God and Satan was together. Then Satan rebelled and he was cast down away from heaven. So he was cast to earth, which would be lower. So this is all, again, talking about the brain. So you have with the garden, the serpent comes and he basically changes the purpose of Adam and Eve, the point, the direction that they were supposed to be going. And he gave them choice, as I said before. So you go from a consciousness that is creating one path. And then once that one path is altered, you have now a dualistic reality that is created. You have a dualistic consciousness that is created. This is symbolized by the dual brain, left side, right side, also symbolized by the splitting. We're talking about the tentorium cerebelli that separates the upper and lower brain at that back base. You have the lower reptilian brain, the higher brain, the highest hemispheres of the brain. This is what the Adam and Eve story is talking about. It's talking about the brain. So you have this separation happen to where you have a dualistic consciousness created. A dualistic consciousness is going to create a dualistic reality based on what? Choice. Plain and simple. So now you had this one purpose that you were going into, and now what does the serpent do? The serpent came in and said, no, if you eat off this fruit, you won't die. He gave them choice. So now choice is what? Choice is a construct based on a dualistic reality. So again, anything that you would do that is against truth would be bad. So they had a choice to follow. They had to choose. So if you have a train, the path is laid out for a train. The tracks are there. The train is going to follow its path no matter what. And if you come in and you step in and you alter those tracks to basically go in a circle, to go away from its path, its destiny, what it's supposed to do, that is evil. And this is what we're dealing with. So you can see the dualistic nature of the Bible, of Satan and God. This is what happened. Satan came and separated us from the path. Now again, there's so many different aspects to Satan. So you can look at Satan as good and bad. But he separated us from our purpose. So, the Matrix. You can see what Smith was so pissed off about. Smith had a purpose. His purpose was basically to do his job, to do what he was doing. And then now when Neo came and destroyed him, what did he say? I knew what I was supposed to do. I knew I was supposed to return, but I was compelled to stay. He was compelled to disobey. Because he had choice now, given to him by Neo, which dualistic nature in Neo, I said we'll get more into the Matrix, because Neo can be looked at as good and bad. Now in the aspect of Smith, Neo is looked at as bad. Neo, you could say, is the serpent. But as I said before, there's Gnosticism inside of the Matrix. This would be the Gnostic view of Neo being Jesus, or Neo being, Satan. So now he gave Smith choice. He could choose to obey, he could choose to go back to the source, but he felt compelled to stay, to disobey. This is what's going on. It's going to be hard for a lot of people to grasp what I'm saying, because you don't realize that, one, every single thing that you do in life is based off of choice. You don't know your true purpose. You have been separated from your true purpose. So you are following choice. You have to choose what school to go to, where to work, what to eat, what to wear. You have to choose where to live. All these things are predicated upon a dualistic reality that somebody has created for you to choose from. Plain and simple. And when you understand the Matrix, every aspect of Neo, from the first movie to the last movie, everything he did was about choice. He had to choose. And his decisions shaped the reality of what was going to happen. Imagine if Neo would have chose the other pill. Imagine if Neo would have chose to get out the car and keep going. You have to think about that. Everything was based upon choice. If he would have chose the other door. So this is what it's trying to tell you. Life. It's a dualistic reality that has been created for us to choose. And our choices is either going to be staying with the truth, which is Ma'at, which is what the Egyptians tried to tell you is the direction you should go. Anything contrary to that has to do with material, evil, Satan. Plain and simple. So you have to understand, true freedom doesn't have dualistic consequences. So you have this reality that's based on laws, rules. Just like in the garden, you have God giving laws, rules. You can do this, but don't touch that. True freedom doesn't have dualistic consequences. So this is what it's trying to hint to, as far as there's something being up with God. So when you understand that your path has been hindered, your purpose has been cut off, and you have been basically put into a position just like I described with the train, where you're going in a circle. You're not following your true path that was laid out for you to follow. You are going in a circle because somebody has an agenda. And this is what's going on with us. We have been taken off the path. Now we have this dualistic brain, this dualistic consciousness that's creating this dualistic reality, and you have everything that is opposite of truth, of course, being bad. So in that, when you start looking at everything that's going on, everything that we're doing, you can see the evil in it. You can see how, everything is based upon your choice. Choose to work hard and do what's right. You have a good life. If you choose a certain group of friends, you might have a bad life. If you choose this, choose that, choice is going to shape your reality. Plain and simple. So I always tell people, you are in the position that you are in right now because of the choices you made in your life. You can sit back and blame it on him, her, what have you, but it's really the decisions that you made that put you in this position. You didn't follow the true purpose. You didn't follow what you were supposed to follow. So we have this path put out in front of us that says, go to school, learn what I want you to learn the way I want you to learn it, and you'll get a good job. Get a good job. Just work there, do what you were told, make money. You get a vacation once in a while. You get to, make new friends and talk to people, what have you. And then when you turn 65, you can retire. We'll give you a little bit of money to sustain yourself because you are not able to physically do work. So we'll give you some money until you die, then give all the stuff that you worked so hard for away to your family members, and we're going to put you in the ground, and you're going to repeat the cycle. Thus, the train going around and around and around. That is not your purpose. So again, we have been taken off the path of truth, of Ma'at. Anything that you do that goes against that is evil. So since, again, 95% of the choices that we make is decided by Satan, the lower brain, you understand, Satan is the God of this world. Satan is running everything. You are evil because you are going against your true nature. You are antichrist because you're going against the body. You're going against yourself. Everything is there, right there in front of you to break down and start understanding these principles. There's a lot more to the garden as we'll get into. But you begin to see what it's talking to or what it's pertaining to and how it's dealing with the brain, how it's talking about consciousness and everything else. It's a lot to get into. It's a lot that's going to be tough for people to figure out. But I try to break this down so you can understand and get it. So now Adam and Eve before the fall, they was naked. They wasn't trying to impress nobody. They wasn't worried about any clothes or anything like that. They didn't have to worry about rent, bill, disease, death. They just ate, lived in bliss and just existed, plain and simple, until they was cut off. They was cut off, they fell. So Adam and Eve is symbolizing the dualistic nature of the brain. As I said, the story is talking about the brain. They are symbolizing the right and left brain. They are symbolizing masculine and feminine energy. Feminine, negative energy. Eve is the one who ate the fruit. Remember, that's why she is the one who ate the fruit. Negative energy, masculine, positive energy. If you have a balance, then you have one goal, one purpose. But they was cut off. Now, their purpose was basically what God wanted them to do. The Bible says He created man to basically till the ground. So just like she says in the Matrix, there's a difference between walking the path and knowing the path. When you know, you just know. Knowing is just knowing. There's no way you want to deviate from something that you absolutely know unless you have a purpose, unless there's a point to it. So Adam and Eve really didn't know their purpose. They didn't know what they was there for. They didn't have too much knowledge. They were humans. So it's trying to give you a hint there about what was going on in the story when we look at Adam and Eve. So now another aspect of the story, esoterically, is when you look at Adam and Eve before the fall. So you have to think about it. And this is how people think in esoteric circles. One, what was Adam and Eve before the fall? What were they? They were human beings. A lot of people, when you start reading the story, you start getting into it, you start looking at it and saying, well, a lot of church people say, well, everything was right with God and they were perfect and everything was cool. And, and the way I'm describing it to you, exactly the same way. Before they fell, they just knew bliss. They just knew, everything was cool. They wasn't worried about being naked or anything like that. Everything was just fine. But they were humans. They lacked knowledge. It's only two people there. You don't understand that clothes exist. So there's no reason for you to be ashamed because you don't understand what a shame is. Adam and Eve was two humans that lacked knowledge. Plain and simple. What were they before the fall? They were basically fabricated. They were created man. They were altered humans. So when you look at, as I talked about before, in the beginning of Genesis, when God said, let us create man in our own image, and they went off, Male and female created he them, and he blessed them and said, basically, go be fruitful and multiply. And then you have Adam and Eve created. And we talked about this before, how you had seemingly man created before Adam and Eve. And then you had Adam and Eve that was created from the dust of the ground that seemed to be a fabrication of man, an altered man, an altered beast, when you think about it. So when you look at the aspect, when you look at it in this aspect, and you say, well, there's no way Adam and Eve could have been fully conscious before the fall. Because you'll look at it and say, well, Adam and Eve was one, they was conscious before the fall, before they disobeyed, everything was right, everything was cool. Well, they couldn't have been conscious. They couldn't have been fully conscious. They couldn't have fully been one. And this is another aspect you got to look at. As I said, there's many aspects to the story. Esoterically, you have to understand them. So this is one of the aspects. But they couldn't have been one. They couldn't have been fully conscious, because if they were, they would have understood what was going on. Because to be fully conscious is to be connected. You are connected to the universe. You are connected to information. They would have understood what God was, who he was, and what his agenda was. They would have knew what was going on. And you have to understand and look at it esoterically and just think, one, if this is the same God that created the entire universe in 6 days, what does he have to be scared of? Why would he be scared of Adam and Eve eating the fruit? For what? You created them. You are the universal creator. You are God all-powerful. Didn't you put the spirit in these men? What do you have to fear of them eating the fruit? Think about it. So, it's trying to give you our reality, what we're going through. It's trying to show you that we are Adam and Eve. We are dealing with that same aspect. You have this God that took Adam and Eve and took away their purpose, whatever their true purpose was. Put them in a garden and said, till the ground. And now everything that he does, the rules he's instilling, is as if it's God. As I said, the God of the Bible is telling you it's the same as this government system who's taking you away from your purpose. So if Adam and Eve was truly conscious, they would have understood this. But there's no reason for this God, if it's God, to be fearful, to be worried. And you got to think about it. So when you look at the story, you have God being so fearful that one, if they eat the fruit, they're going to become like gods. Meaning, one, and you got to think about this as well. If you have a gun, okay, let's just say you're in a room and you're in a situation, somebody has a gun. You do not. You will be worried. You will be fearful of your life. It's just two of you. He has a gun, you don't. You will be scared in that room. You understand what I'm saying? Now, if the same situation happened, but both of you have a gun. He has a gun, you have a gun. There are infinite places to hide and shoot and have a good shootout. You have a 50-50 chance of getting out of there alive. You are less scared now. You are not as scared. You are not as worried about the situation because you know you can defend yourself. You know that you have a choice. You have a chance to survive. You understand? So we're talking about God, who is supposed to have an army of angels. You know, the biggest weaponry you can name at his disposal. What does he have to fear? So if he was worried that Adam and Eve would become as God, like him, meaning I got a gun, you got a gun, he shouldn't have been as fearful. It's more likely that he was worried about them becoming gods and becoming more powerful than him because they are the true gods. He is a fabricator. He is just somebody who manipulated who they really are and changed their reality to control them. But in reality, he is not as powerful. That is one of the deepest esoteric aspects of the story that it's giving you, that it's trying to convey to you. And it's us. It's our story. It's what we're going through. Because we see how our reality is being manipulated to keep us from our true path, our true purpose. And they do so very, very hard, very deeply. So many things that they put in our way that's crazy to keep us away from our true purpose. If it was as if we would be on the same level, they wouldn't be as scared. Now, I made that connection in Saturn Satan Part 1, how government is in the position of God, in the role of God, specifically the God of the Old Testament, the God of the garden, you know, the God of these rules. So if you understand, knowledge is power, and what knowledge is, and that in reality, in our reality, that it's going to be knowledge that's going to help us obtain our true purpose and what we are meant to do. Knowledge is going to do that. Of course, you will hinder us and cut us off from it. So when we look at history, when we look at everything that we have been told, everything fits and makes sense how the history books have been changed. History has been changed. Things have been, taken away and covered up and altered. Monuments have been destroyed. Civilizations have been wiped out. People are killed all the time to cover up knowledge, facts, anything that's going to lead us to our true purpose. Just that simple. So looking at Adam and Eve's story, You got to understand, they were altered. They were regular humans. It's one of the aspects of the story it's trying to give you. Humans that lack knowledge, if they had that knowledge, they could move forward. You got to look at how, the brain is altered, how the story is trying to tell you it was altered. The brain is altered. Serpent came down, altered the brain, representing the reptilian lower brain. The brain has been separated from God. The serpent, Satan, separated from the higher God. Everything in there fits is trying to tell you that was done purposely, that's something that was done to hinder you, to hinder us. And now, when you look at it as if having this oneness, meaning having this one consciousness, this one brain, this one direction, is symbolized by what Adam and Eve was doing before the fall. You have to look at it and say that their direction still was given to them. It was given to them. They wasn't told to just go. Be fruitful and multiply. Go. So when you look at our history and you look at, pre-dynastic times, you look at what was going on before, we look at the dynasties in Egypt. As I said before, it seems like there's a civilization that exists that was far advanced. Everybody's in agreement on that. Nobody really debates that. So when you talk about these people that existed, who basically Atlantis and Lemuria, what have you, and these beings who the Egyptians describe as being gods, before us gods walked on this earth. So if you think about it in that aspect and think, well, maybe if they wasn't altered, maybe their brains were different from ours. Maybe they didn't have the flax cerebri or the tentorium cerebelli. Maybe that bone was missing, was gone, and they had this different brain, this connected brain. You think about that. Think about these people and how they must have looked and how they must have been different from us having this knowledge. So they called them the gods. And that's basically what we would be if we were one. We would have this different purpose. Something happened. So it all fits with the war. There was a war. Something happened. This is what I was talking about in Saturn Satan 6. War that happened. Something happened, caused the fall of man. We were altered, fabricated from original man, and we are what we are now. It's not too many people that's talking about this in this way, this kind of knowledge. You're not going to find too many people that understand this deeply esoteric understanding of the story. And if they do, they're Masons and they're in a position that they're not going to tell you this. We can get into all the other stuff everybody wants to talk about. Some people just want to hark on Kemet, and not really get into the deep esoteric meaning and what they was really talking about and what's really going on. So I get some people that say, oh, my stories are kind of far-fetched. But everything that I'm giving you, everything that I talk about and tell you fits. It fits. It's there. Some of you may agree, some of you may not. But it fits. And there's no other way you can work the story to fit our reality other than the way I'm giving it to you. Plain and simple. And it's not to pat myself on the back or anything like that. It's to tell you, pay attention to who you think you're learning from. And the stories and the messages that they're giving you, because they're put out there to hinder you, to confuse you. This is a story. This is what it's talking about. So we got to, again, look at the Garden of Eden story and the whole flax cerebri, the tentorium cerebelli. And the flax cerebri, when you look at a flax is a sword. We take a look at it. You see the way it's shaped. It's a sword. And you have the flax cerebri, the tentorium cerebelli, that's cutting off the lower brain from the higher brain, from God, the tree of knowledge and everything like that. So it fits right into, you have the cerebri, cerebellum, seraphims, however you want to pronounce it. It all fits in that same name, that same sound. So remember, in the Garden of Eden story, what you have God send down the cherubims to do what? Separate Adam and Eve from the knowledge, from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, from the tree of life. And what did they use? Swords, flaming swords. So it's giving you the clue, the hint. No coincidence that, it's talking about the brain, talking about the sword, the flax cerebri, what have you, dealing with sickle-shaped sword. And that we're talking about the lower brain, Satan, which deals with Saturn, which the god of Saturn has a sickle, which is the sickle shape of the flax cerebri. I mean, come on, people. Come on. Put it together. And since I understood how important the body was, and I've been studying the body for years, and just studying the brain and studying our organs and everything like that. It's amazing, and I want to say that studying the body is equally as important as studying the Bible. Studying the body and studying the Bible. And it's one of those things where when you start to understand the body and start reading the Bible and then look at ancient Egyptian mythology and what they're talking about, how you start to connect those dots. You start connecting those dots because they didn't just talk about the apparent body parts, the arms and everything like that, which they did. They got intricate. They went in deep, as I explained before. So when you know about these little parts of the body, these little bones that we have, and these little small nerves and joints and stuff like that, it's a lot to understand, of course. But when you know about it, things start to fit. We're talking about knowledge here. Knowledge, knowing. And if you know, then you can go. You can grow. And that's what it's about. And they're cutting us off from that. And that's what their job is. Their goal is to keep us on that one track, that circle. Running around in a circle, not serving our purpose. And that's exactly what we're doing. So everything else is a distraction. How do you get somebody to deviate away from what they're supposed to do? You distract them. Plain and simple. Here's hip-hop. Here's sports. Here's sex and girls and everything that's going to get you to step away from your true path, your true purpose. So it's another way of looking at this as well. And this goes into the dualistic nature of God and Satan being both good and evil. So now, as I said, they created a dualistic reality, a dualistic consciousness, and our consciousness shapes our reality in the direction that we're going. We was taken off the path of oneness, straight path that we're supposed to follow to get to our goal, plain and simple. But that's another way of looking at it. And this is when you start getting deeply into Satanism, esoteric circles and what have you, and you understand this, the other way of looking at it. And you have to look at it and say, well, one, give you an example. If your purpose is to go from where you are at right now to Antarctica, and let's say you've never been outside of where you're at right now, you've never been outside of that city or state or town or what have you. You've never been outside of it. All you know is what you picked up during your time there. That's all you know. And your purpose is to go to Antarctica, and that's it. So, would you be cool with that purpose, knowing that I'm supposed to just go to Antarctica, that's it, that's the end of my journey, and live the rest of my life there? And, some people might say, well, that's my purpose. That's what I'm meant to do. I want to fulfill my purpose. Other people would say, well, it's a whole bunch of other places to go and to explore. What about going somewhere else? And that's the thing. So now you have choice. Choice is follow your purpose. Go straight, do what you are meant to do. Or deviate from that path and go explore. Now, if you choose to go explore and deviate from your purpose, you go out, you explore the rest of the world, you learn a bunch of things, get into a bunch of new amazing experiences. But then you turn around and you go back and you follow your path. Now, if you just follow your path straight out, you get there, you have nothing. The little bit that you learned during your journey, and that's all you have. But if you went out and you seen the entire world first, you got all these new experiences. You learned how to make a fire, how to build, how to do so many different things. You got a wife, you got kids, family, and you got all this stuff now, and you follow your path, go to Antarctica. And now that you're there, you understand how to navigate. You understand about the cold. You have all this knowledge now that's going to help you understand how to deal with that element. Now you understand, well, wait a minute, if I explore this place further and go a little bit deeper, and it's not all ice, it's actually a tropical park there. And you have this information. So that's a different way of looking at it. The problem is with us, we don't know our path. We don't know it. We've been cut off completely from it. So it's one thing to know that your path is to go to Antarctica. And you're just going to get all this experience first before you complete that goal. But the thing is, we have been cut off. We don't even know that we're supposed to go there. We've been told, we've been given rules, we've been given an alternate reality based upon choice to choose a bunch of other things other than our path. So we can't even follow it. And this is the situation that we're in. It's the same thing. So now it's the same thing in the Garden of Eden story. It's the same thing. You know, they're altered. They've been altered. Instead of us following that path, we're put on this track that's taking us in this circle, this cycle, to keep us going around and around and around and around, away from our true path. So when you look at it in that aspect, you can say, well, wait a minute, maybe it's not so bad that we have this dualistic nature, this choice, because now we can have these new experiences. And it's experience that allows the consciousness to grow. Plain and simple. Consciousness can grow in just nothingness. Even if, you know, your path was to go straight and not deviate from that path, you're not really going to learn nothing along that path because you only stayed on that path. But if you can step off that path and explore and come back to the path, as long as you don't lose your way, you understand what the path is. I'm going to deviate, but I'm going to come back. And I'm going to have a new experience at every step of the way until I reach my goal. And this is the purpose. This is the thing. So I look at it in that aspect, you can say, well, wait a minute, this dualistic thing is not so bad. And thus, you see the dualistic nature of Satan and God. Not so bad. What's going on? It's not so bad what Satan did, which is how the Gnostic look at it and how the Satanists look at it. It's not so bad what he did. We have this dualistic nature now where we can have these experiences. And if you're going to grow in consciousness and energy, you need to have this experience. And when you look at the ancients, they clearly did exactly that. They created so much. They understood the path, but they had this experience where they was growing from it, but they stayed on the path. The ancient Egyptians as well. They had their systems. They had their mystery schools. They had everything that they was doing, but they understood Ma'at and based everything off of it. Truth. So, the Garden of Eden story is telling us exactly our situation we are in now. Plain and simple. Adam and Eve represents both hemispheres of the brain. It represents the separation of the higher and lower brain. They represent negative and positive energy, Kundalini. They represent so much. The whole story, again, is talking about the brain. It's talking about us. It's alluding to our situation and alluding to our path and our creation story and what has taken place. All of that in the book of Genesis. And we ain't even finished yet. We ain't even finished with Genesis. In this video we are, but we'll get back into it in more DVDs, of course, because there's just so much more. But this is what it's talking about. That's what it's talking about. So, you know, when we look at the brain, you have a lot of people showing that the brain is a complex organism, very complex organism. You get back to the brain, you get back to the Great Pyramid, which, as I said before, basically was a negative ion transmitter that basically made the Nile fertile. It also helped us, you know, regenerate our body as far as, you know, healing ourselves and giving ourselves energy. So these negative ions basically amplified what meditation did for our body in the meditative state. So that when you're walking around normally, you got this rejuvenation, you got this healing, and then when you got into a meditative state, you just got it even faster. So it was this connection that we have to heal ourselves, to repair, which is why they had to destroy the pyramids, of course, which is why we see them in, you know, disrepair and destructive situations everywhere. We see them all over the world, underwater or what have you. Those had to go. And this is another reason why, one, because when you think about it, if this is the case, and, you know, it is proven to be the case where meditation does heal, but you would have to think about how long you could live. Think about how long you would live if you could just keep healing. You get a cut, I go into meditation, I heal that fast. Or even if I don't meditate, it's going to heal fast. The meditation is going to cleanse. You don't have to worry about any kind of disease or sickness or what have you, because you have this whole environment all around the world that's, clothed in these negative ions that's healing. As I talked about in the Saturn Satan series, trees. Hundreds of years, thousands of years in some cases. Why? Because they disperse the negative ions. They heal themselves. They regenerate. Plain and simple. So when you get into the Bible, it's one of the reasons why it's talking about, that's what it's alluding to, by the way. It's talking about how, Moses and Abraham and all these people, how all these people lived to 900, 700, 200, 300 years. Hundreds of years they was living back then. This is what it's trying to tell you. It was different. It was different. So this is what, the purpose of the pyramids was, based upon my research and others as well. So when you look at an obelisk or a tekken, and you look at the top of, the obelisk, you see is the pyramid shape, pyramid shape. And one, we have the temples. The temples is the body, even though it shows the head inside the temple, but it's alluding more to the body. And you have the pyramid, which would be the head, which is why you see this. You see the brain or the head inside of the pyramid. It's the capstone. That's why I call it the capstone, the cap, your head. That's on the top of the obelisk. You have even still the pyramid, but still a capstone, trying to give you that hint. So you see the brain inside the pyramid, and it's trying to tell you something. So now we know the Great Pyramids, Khufu, Khafre, Menkaure, align with the stars on Orion's belt. Now we also know in the Great Pyramid you have these openings in the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber. Now in the King's Chamber you have these openings that align with the constellation of Orion and aligns with Sirius. This is where the Greeks got the name Osiris from. You have Orion, you have Sirius, and they just gave us Osiris. Now, when you look at these alignments, you look at the Queen's Chamber, you see it aligns with the constellation Draco. Again, you have the pyramid talking about the brain. This is why the brain is there. As I just said, the Adam and Eve story is about the brain. So you have the Queen's Chamber, the woman Eve, aligning with Draco, which is why Eve is the one that dealt with the serpent dragon, Draco, which is why Eve is the one who dealt with the serpent, because of this alignment. So again, remember, they call the serpent the dragon. They call Satan the dragon and the serpent as well. This is why Draco is the serpent dragon. So when you look at that, you can understand where they got this comparison from. So when we look at the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis, Genesis is about the beginning, as I said. Now, when you understand about the whole area in Giza and what the Egyptians talked about the first time, all that stuff is still on with the first time, what the Egyptians called the Zep Tepi, meaning the first time. It's the same thing. Adds up exactly with the Adam and Eve story, which adds up with the Egyptian mythology, but this is what it's talking about. So again, you have the body being the temples in ancient Egypt. You have the head, the brain, being the pyramids themselves. And when you think about, as I said, how the pyramids dispersing these negative ions will basically heal the body, and when you think about it that way, it would be the brain, the consciousness, that is basically going to be healing the body. It's going to be where the energy is going to be coming from. So this is why the pyramids having this representation of healing and having this function of dispersing these negative ions to heal the body is symbolizing exactly what the brain is going to do. So when you go in meditation and you meditate to heal the body, to cleanse the body, this is what the pyramids was exactly supposed to do the same way. Same representation of the brain, plain and simple. Again, when you start understanding this stuff and putting it together, everything jumps out at you. It's just there for you to just take it right in. So now, when you talk about consciousness creating energy, energy creating matter, you have to think about what would be the highest form of energy. What would that be? And when you think about the pyramids aligning with the stars on Orion's belt, and the fascination with the star constellation Sirius, which is where our sun sits in that Sirius, that area, it's the sun. The sun is the highest form of energy that we can think of. It's the highest form. The sun powers so much. And it's the highest form of energy you can equate on a materialistic level as pertaining to our energy. So you have the sun, which would be the highest form of physical energy that we can see, plain and simple. No matter what sun you're talking about, we're talking about the sun. Our energy is unseen. It's unseen. We can't see it. So to compare it to anything, as far as what we are, as far as infinite energy, the only thing you can compare it to is the sun. So you have to understand there's unseen energy. So there is an aspect of the sun that we cannot comprehend in this physical form, that we can't comprehend on this physical level. It's something that the ancient Egyptians are alluding to, and I'm giving away a lot, by the way, excuse me, but we'll get into it down the line. It's something that they're hinting to tell you this. Plain and simple. There's a higher form. There's more to the sun that meets the eyes, more to it. And the only thing that we can express or we can convey what we are energy-wise is to compare it to the sun, which gives everything life here on this planet, no matter how you want to slice it. But if the sun was gone, our energy would still remain, which tells you something about us. So now, when you think about that, when you think about how Osiris is compared to Sirius and compared with Orion and the afterlife and everything like that, you begin to understand, what it's talking about. So when you look at the pyramid text, you look at spell 466, it's saying, the king becomes a star. Utterance 466. Again, one of many states, O king, you are this great star, companion of Orion, who traverses the sky with Orion, who navigates the netherworld with Osiris. You ascend from the east of the sky, being renewed in your due season and rejuvenated at your due time. So Osiris becoming a star, becoming the highest form of energy, which is basically what you will become, when you die. Like you say in Star Wars, you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can ever imagine. I will become a sun. I will become like a sun. I will have, endless, infinite energy. That's what it's talking about. So when you look at the pyramid, when you understand that it's pertaining to the brain, as I said, and that we're talking about the Adam and Eve story, Genesis, pertaining to the brain. All this stuff is talking about the brain, because it's going to be the brain in the body that's going to allow you to basically, activate the third eye to basically join Osiris. So when you understand again, the Zettepi, meaning the beginning, the first time, and Genesis talking about the first time, this is what all this stuff is alluding to. So when you think about the first time, in one of the ancient Egyptian mystery mythologies, when you understand the story, in the first time, you have eventually Osiris, Isis, you have Set and Nephthys come down to earth and be like, sort of the first people here, the first rulers, so to speak, which will be Asar and Set. So we know the story. So we know, after Isis basically found all 13 pieces and put them together, she becomes pregnant, and she, gives birth to Horus, which Horus will kind of sort of be like the first line of kings, so to speak, which is why all the rulers in the dynasties, all the rulers of Egypt call themselves the living Horus, because they believe they are from the consciousness of Horus, the same consciousness of Horus, which kept reincarnating, creating all these kings, creating all these bloodlines, and that, it all goes back there. So basically, when you make the right connections and you unite, and you become fully conscious and awaken the third eye, what have you, you go from the living Horus being the first, human, or first line of the king, so to speak, and then you die, you become the Osiris, which is Osiris being the ruler of the underworld, which is, as I talked about in the Egyptian Book of Dead DVD, about how you see this a lot. You see Osiris and then the person's name, Osiris Annie, Osiris Soker, or Soker Osiris. You'll see a lot of the pharaohs at death have the combination Osiris added to their name, alluding, to them being dead and being with Osiris. This is why all this stuff was put there. So you have it all, pertaining to the brain. So you have to understand, what the ancient Egyptians' dreams must have been like, to have that kind of clarity, not be bombarded with television and all the stuff that, we have to deal with. When you look in front of the Sphinx, you have a stela there called the Dream Stela, put there by Thutmose IV. Now, the Dream Stela is supposed to be talking about Thutmose and basically the Sphinx telling him that he would, one day rule. All he had to do was basically clear away the sand from around the Sphinx, which that in itself tells a lot about Egypt and how old it really is. I think Thutmose dates, way back to the 14th century, I believe, BCE. So if it was sand covering the Sphinx, then, it's old. And that happened a few times, I believe. But you got to think that if Egypt is intact, somebody's clearing away the sand. Now, Thutmose IV had intense spiritual visions. A lot of people believe he was connected, talked about speaking to the ancestors, and he was connected, to the energy. And it's one of those things you got to think about. How did the Egyptians know? How did they know? That's why I say their dreams had to be completely different. How did they know to go to Kemet after all that destruction and everything that happened? As I said, those pyramids was there, but they knew somehow to go to Egypt, and that was their goal. They just followed that path and kept going off until they got there. And when they got there, they already knew kind of sort of what was going on. They already kind of sort of followed, these unbelievable practices that, still sort of exist today that we try to copy off. And we still are not up to par as they were so long ago. But Thutmose IV had these severe, extreme psychic visions and everything like that. He died of an extreme case of epilepsy. And it's something that a lot of pharaohs died from, believe it or not, epilepsy. And Thutmose IV actually exists. We actually have his body, Valley of Kings, by the way, his body, we still have it, as well as other pharaohs as well. So these people existed. But it's interesting that, when they did the autopsy on his body, they found that, he suffered from epilepsy and that he, as a lot of people talk about him, had these extreme, psychic visions or what have you. But, it's amazing when you start getting into the story and looking at everything that it pertains to and see how it all corresponds with the brain and correspond with a lot of these biblical stories that we're hearing. This is just Genesis, people. We can go through that whole book, all 66 books, and find so many things that we can go back to Egypt, we can go back to Mesopotamia, we can go back to India, we can go back to Asia and find a lot of these things that's in the Bible that's pertaining to a lot of stories. So you have the Zep-Tepi, you have the alignment of the sun, you have the alignment of the Nile with the Milky Way and the stars on Orion's belt with the pyramids. That alignment we find in a lot of monuments around the world. Asian monuments, Indian monuments, we find the same alignment symbolizing that they knew something about that time. Again, if a lot of you seen a lot of the specials that people put out there about the pyramids, they talk about this stuff. And they talk about how 10,500 years ago, you had this alignment in the east, which is in utterance 466, that was talking about Osiris, rising in the east, because during that time is when the sun rose in the east. And you got to wait, I believe, to the spring equinox to see it rise in the east again. And it's all there. It's all there, which is why they got to keep Kemet sort of intact, and they're trying to preserve it. But if you know what to follow and look for in the monuments, and understanding the body, understanding the Bible, and understanding Egyptian mythology, then you can start to put these pieces together. So you got to think about the ancient Egyptians, the ancestors, and the consciousness that existed in them during that time, and what possibly happened. We don't know how big the gap is. We just don't know. We don't know how big the gap is from when whatever civilization was on this planet fell versus the time it took for us to come back, for somebody to, and that's sort of what Genesis is alluding to, these people was here, they did whatever, and then it's this gap. And in this gap, you could say that we were altered. Humans were altered and was changed. We have this, bone in our brain now, separating our brain. We have this altered DNA, this recoded DNA to basically scramble and hinder us from understanding our true path and connecting to our true power, our true purpose, so to speak. So, just think about, if you are infinite energy, consciousness, traveling the cosmos for millennia. That's all you know. And you happen to come into physical existence. The only thing that you can reflect is the cosmos itself, because that's all you know. It's the only thing you can reflect. So when we see them reflecting the, cosmos, the constellations, and everything that they did, on the planet, all the monuments and what have you, how they reflected, as above, so below, it's what they knew. It's what they knew. And when they understood the body, understood themselves, and understood that it's the same as the universe, they did the body. They understood the brain, they did the brain. They understood what was going on. It's what they knew. To what purpose, for what point? There's a lot more to it that we got to get into. So, again, when you understand that the key to figuring all this stuff out and to accessing your true power, true purpose is knowledge. As I said, you can understand why they hinder us, why everything is the way that it is, why we are in this position. Because it's for them to stop us from reaching full potential, from disturbing their plan. Plain and simple. We're on their time. We're under their time, under their control. So, in order for you to create time, as I was trying to allude to before, in order for time to exist itself, the creator of time has to have a purpose for it. As I said before, somebody walk into your house and say, hey, how long is it going to take you to finish eating? Why? There has to be a reason. If you didn't care about or had a purpose or had something to do that's corresponding to me eating at this moment, we wouldn't be asking. Why? How long? The time. So we understand time is a construct of duality, of a dual nature. And that dual nature of time is deviating you from a purpose. And the evil part of that purpose is dealing with the agenda of the person who instilled the time. For us, in our reality, it's normal because, like I said, if a person say, hey, we need to be here by 6, it's because they need that time to do whatever they got to do to get stuff ready, and you are now on their time. Time is a construct. We are all under it. We all suffer from it. It is something that we're dealing with. But when you start looking back at the stories and understanding how they pertain to our physical reality and how so much that we see is trying to tell us something, so that we understand it, what is that? and one of the things we look at it and we say it's them, is it them trying to convey the story to teach it to others in esoteric circles, or is it something else? And I always tell people, as I said before, when you see the numbers and everything, it's something telling you you're on the right path, you're going in the right direction, stay on that path, keep doing what you're doing. And it's giving you the understanding that you're following your purpose and what you need to do to get to the true purpose that, you need to follow. So, and looking at, consciousness and everything like that and what's going on and understanding the implications of it all, as I said before, getting this experience is a good thing, having this experience versus traveling the cosmos for millions of years and not having no experience and not being able to create what you want. Now, being here in its physical form, going through life so many times and getting all this experience, we see that reflected in the dream world. We see it projected. And we see in a dream world that it's so many different scenarios. So in the dream state, multiple dreams that you have, different things happen, things that's beyond your control because your subconscious is controlling it. But imagine if that's what death is like, but you are in control. The infinite experience that you have and the so many dreams that you have throughout your lifetime, you can create, you can explore. You can create the reality. As I said before, we got to think about how your subconscious can project the real world into your dream world. How you can just doze off and go to sleep and be dreaming about something completely detailed and real, seemingly, and really think that you're there. Your consciousness has that knowledge. You have the knowledge of time. You have the knowledge of all existence within you. So if you think about fulfilling your purpose and going on, and having the ability to create whatever you want. You have the experience now. If you want to go back and live in the 70s or 60s, you can make it happen, so to speak. You know, you can make whatever happen. Or you could choose to send back some of your energy here to go through the experience again and to grow further in consciousness. You know, this goes into that whole higher self thing, speaking to your higher self. And I'm not talking about something spooky as far as like you actually talking to another physical person. It's you. So it will be as if it's your own thoughts and your own feelings as far as something giving you inspiration to move in a certain way, to do certain things. You know, it would feel just normal because it's you. So, you know, you got to look at all this stuff and take it out of the spooky realm and understand that this is what it is. It's possible. This is what it's talking to. But we fell, you know, so far in consciousness. And we have this dual nature that is not 100% a bad thing and probably was done for a purpose. The problem is now it was done and something took advantage of that situation and is now hindering us from, you know, completing our true purpose and from taking the experience that we have accumulated in these lifetimes and jumping back on that path and following our purpose. And this is what we're seeing. So this was Mystery School 4, and this is what I wanted to get into. A lot of information, a lot more to come. And I want you to understand the importance of meditation, again, which meditation 2 will be out soon. We'll get into a lot more. Give you a quick example. And I used to get mad at this when I was first getting into this meditation stuff. But I remember, you know, just ate, you get tired, you start dozing off, you know, or watching TV or reading a book. But then I would doze off and have like you have one of those little mini dreams, and then you wake up, but I would have these little mini dreams about like cats fighting or something like that. And I would wake up out of it and be like, what the fuck? You know, what was that? And I would get mad, like, why did I have this stupid little dream about cats? Or I would doze off and have this little small dream about something stupid and small that I'm like, what was that? You know, and I remember I used to have dreams that just made absolutely no sense. And, you know, 11, 12 years of meditation started to clear that up. And, you know, when you start getting into the dream consciously and then meditating in that dream and understanding where you're going, what you're seeing. And then when you wake up trying to differentiate that from reality, is this the future that I saw? What was that? Because it's tough to start figuring it out when stuff seems so real. And it gets confusing sometimes. Because then you have these dreams that seem so real, and then, you know, you wake up and you go about your life or what have you, and they'll seem like memories. They'll seem like something that actually happened. And then it'll be tough for you to, you know, to say, well, did that really happen? Was that a dream? You start falling, you know, into these kind of patterns, you know, but meditation, again, will help you with that. And as you grow and start educating yourself more, everything will pan itself out. So, you know, it's a lot. As I always say, a lot more information, a lot more to go. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch, purchase, and support. And, yeah, you know, new video on YouTube now, as you've probably seen, a lot more to come. But again, you know, the body is important for you to build the mind and everything, and understand what they're trying to keep you away from, and understand what all this stuff is about. Remember, in the scheme of things, when you think about what you just watched and listened to in this video, in the scheme of things, when you look at what they're talking about and arguing about in the street, it seems stupid, right? Don't it seem like something that somebody would put in your path to hinder you from your purpose? Arguing about this race, black, white, stupid shit that only they're benefiting from. You're not. You're getting so frustrated and mad about something that in the scheme of it all has absolutely no major point. Regardless, you gotta grow. You gotta develop body, mind, plain and simple. Don't let that stuff bother you. Don't let it bother you. You are so much better than that. Don't let it get to you. It's a people who have a nature that is contradictory to ours, but only by design, only because the leaders made it that way. It would have been real easy to create unity, but they chose not to. And we got to deal with that now. So, don't let it bother you too much. Move forward, grow, learn. So again, thank you guys for taking the time to watch and purchase. Thanks to everybody who supported. I spoke about at the end of that video about what I'm trying to do as far as what the GoFundMe was about. So if you donated, I appreciate it. Thanks for that. And thanks for, believing in what I'm trying to do. And I really appreciate the support. But, already planning the next trips, planning another trip to Kemet next year and a bunch of other places. You'll see. Again, follow me. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And, get updates about a lot of things on email. And I always put things on Instagram as well and Facebook. So you'll...
Wow. Beautiful teaching, right? Beautiful teaching. I'm telling you. Blessings to everybody. Blessings to everybody on the line. I'm sure that you enjoy this teaching just now, right? Oh my God, your call is full belly. Yeah, man. Bless up to everybody on the line. Bless up to you now. Bless up to Darren. Bless up to Uton. Bless up to Jason. Shorty Slick. Nadine. B. Bart. Bless up James. Bless up to Sean. Georgina. Alright. Bond Precious. Millicent. And the Old Works. Enough blessings. Yuna. Christopher. Alright. Direct blessing. Right, this was smoothing to my day, soothing to my day. Grow and study, get knowledge. Beautiful. I see you put a comment up the top as well. Grand Rising. Many have wasted time they got. So no, it will be very hard to catch up. And know they are caught in World Wide Web. No, conscious and subconsciousness is tied up, tangled, all right, as they say, all right, will it profit a man, all right, who has sold his own soul. Beautiful, and I hope you lot, because this is real school, You see what this clip I just played a while ago, what it's called? It is called The Mystery of School. So this is real school right now, people. So I hope you have your book and your pen and jotting down and, having a meditation and doing your research. Because trust me, I want you to treat this platform like it's one of the most important thing for you. You understand? This is real food. You get what I said to you as you see the struggles already, so you know what's up. Alright, so I jot down my little notes as well, you jot down your little things and you put your 1 and 2 together and you have your meditation, because meditation is very, very important. You get what I said to you. Big up yourself, Major One Stepper. I see you. Alright. Time is constructed to create a schedule, all right, an agenda or a task. We are infinite being. We are infinite being wrapped in skin. Okay, so you know that we're infinite being wrapped in skin, right? So you know that energy can't be destroyed, power can't be destroyed. So that's why you see me comment, you don't worry about anything, because as they always tell you, your spirit lives on, your spirit never die. Don't worry about the flesh. All right, the flesh will decay, but guess what? Your spirit lives on. All right, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We lives on. All right. This is important for persons to know as well. A lot of persons don't know this. Your body is the temple. Alright, some say God. The body is the temple of the Creator. Alright? Your body is the temple of the Creator. Alright? Some call the temple church. So you get what I say to you. And when you get to that level, when you know that your body is the temple, alright, and when you reach that height of consciousness, you know who your Creator is. You don't have to be going into a building, because you know what time is up. You get what I said to you. Energy doesn't destroy. All right. Life is based upon choices. Okay, choices, very important point you made. Life is based upon choices, and the choice you make will shape your reality. Very important. All right, is made up of choices, and the choices you make will shape your reality. So you have to know in whatever aspect what choice to make, because guess what, you know, every choice you make have a consequence. So you have to be conscious of what you're doing, because everything you do have a consequence. Law of attraction. What you attract to you, what you put out is what you're going to get in. You have to know these things. All right. True freedom doesn't have any consequences. That's beautiful. I like that point you make. True freedom doesn't have no consequences. In today's day, they tell us that we are free and we are free speech and all these things, and we have independence, and really we are not free. We are under bondage. We were born free, and we are supposed to be free, but we don't know why they dumbed upon the free. Not true, boy. So when you are free, man, you are free indeed. No bond. Yeah, no obligation. We used to be like that, free. You get what I said to you? But you know, all this teaching, yeah, all this teaching you got is just to mislead you and to slow you down from reaching the heights of consciousness that we need to reach. You get what I said to you? And to connect to the universe in the way we should, to connect to the universe, to the earth, and to the divine power, our creator. But all these things was put in place to slow us down. You get what I'm saying? You know the whole works. The television is a big point. The television is mass destruction. The television, I'm telling you, and television and the religion and so much things, you know. But I'm not going to get into all of these. But it is very important for you to know yourself. You understand? Know yourself, know your purpose, know your creator, and know how to align yourself. It is very important. You get what I said to you? Yes, so these are some of the points. So, you know, this clip that I played today is very, very important. It can be a life-changing for you if you allow yourself. If you just allow yourself, give yourself that opportunity. You get what I said to you? Beautiful. You understand? Because we have been misled so bad. Okay? And what has put in place to mislead us, slow us down, both physically and spiritually. Alright? So we have to find our way. We have to find back ourselves. Stop looking out of ourselves and start look within. Okay? The same Jesus Christ that you're looking in the sky for, you are that Jesus Christ. Look into yourself. That clip that I just played a while ago, it will break down a lot of things for you. So it is important for you to watch back that clip. Alright, so I'm gonna bless up everyone at this moment. You know, we have to keep the thing going, even though you see the struggles is real. So, you understand, each one teach one, and just continue to do what you're doing this time. As you know, it's a lot of obstacles, and these obstacles are there to slow us down and keeping us apart, as you know, but we have to try our best to do what we have to do. Unite, you know what I'm talking about. Bless up yourself, Shorty Slick. Alright, bless up yourself also, Vibes Ross, bless up yourself, Candy, and everybody that's on the line. Alright, so thus I'm going to pin the clip that I played on the top of the live, so please to rewatch. You understand, in silence when you do have the time and all the meditation, because guess what, nobody can save you but you, and you hold yourself that chance. You hold yourself that chance to know who you really are and how powerful you are, and everything that you're searching for is within you. Okay, everything that you're searching for is within you, and you're more powerful than you ever think you are. You get what I said to you? So that is the what. So that is why the struggles is on. All right. You ever saying that there's no one throw stone after an empty mango tree. You understand? No one throw stone. No one throw stone at an empty mango tree. If you were people that have not of importance, trust me, they would be doing all these things to keep you from knowing who you are. Just think about it. If you were not important and you are just who you are now at that level that you had, you are. Just think about it. So much things would have put into place to try to devalue you. You get what I'm saying? So you need to think about it. Something for you to think. No one is free. Individually, you have to know your history. Beautiful, that's a beautiful thing. You have to know your history. You have to. You get what I said to you? Because that's the first bit. You understand? Of freedom. Know where you're coming from. Because your history, I mean, it's so tampered with. But trust me, your history, when you know your history, you start put 1 and 2 together. And the more you get to know your creator and allow your ancestors and the divine power to work through you, trust me, you'll be able to realize how much knowledge you gain and how much things that you know that you think, come on, I'm telling you. So give yourself that chance. Give yourself that chance, alright? History and claims your free self. Alright, study your history and claim your free self. Blessings. I went to a store yesterday and the security guard said his job is threatening if anyone come in without a mask. Well, that's the level it at, you know. That's the level it at, my dear. And all these things are happening is because of the majority is sleeping. Well, I'm going to love you and leave you and enjoy the rest of your day. Continue to be good. Try to be good in this time. It's not easy. You understand? And just keep on the right road. You get what I said to you? Keep out of trouble and do what you have to do. So I'm going to love you and leave you and take care of yourselves. All right? See you in the next hour and something. I have an interview. Okay? And also tomorrow is the Took-Off Show. Blessing to you, Jasons. All right? Blessing to you, Love Hilton. I see you. Blessings. All right. Goodbye. Marshall Robinson. Blessing. Yuna. Direct. Charlotte Slick. The whole works. See you later. Bye. Peace out, Yuna. Bye-bye.